So I was invited to the United States of America in the year 2003 on an H-1B visa as a business development manager on a $75,000 salary, which was mucho money for me, because when you convert $1 into rupees, it's like winning a mega million lottery ticket for me.
It was an amazing opportunity for us to better our lives and, jumpstart our children's future. So we came to live the American dream.
So you can imagine with what perception, with what dreams I landed here. But the day I landed in the United States of America in February of 2003, my perpetrator told me, Harold, do you have any cash? And I was carrying $1,000 cash. And he said, Harold, this is America. You cannot keep cash on you. It is not safe. So I trusted him. Like I said, oh, okay. So I gave him the cash, I gave him my documents. But my wife and myself, we were made to work 7 days a week from the day we landed in a restaurant. It started from 8 hours to 10 hours to 12 hours. Eventually, we were working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days with no salary.
The perpetrator tried to say that he will hold our wages so that we can buy a house for the kids. And, he would show us all these different kinds of houses. And it ended up that he did not pay us for 18 months.
I always tell 3 things happened in my life. Number 1, he manipulated me. Number 2, he tricked me. Number 3, he trapped me. And I always tell, when I came to the United States of America, I didn't know the culture. I didn't know the people. I didn't know how the law enforcement agencies work. And I didn't know how this country operates. Because he always manipulated and told us lies. You will not call me by the name of Harold. If you have to call me, he'll say, illegal, come here. So they'll call you, our names are named as illegal. But understand one thing, it's pretty deep. Whenever you're named as illegal, you think that you're a criminal. That is what happens in my mind. So they know it. These perpetrators, they are psychologists. They know how to break your psychology. And that is what happened in my life.
There is always threat. The threat that the perpetrator can get you arrested, deported, and sent back. And they hold paperwork. So your passport, your documents are usually with the perpetrator. So it is difficult for you to get out of a situation without those legal documents that you would need to survive.
After 1 year, my wife could not take it anymore. So in the kitchen, she confronted the perpetrator and told the perpetrator that, why don't you pay me my back wages? He said, what? What back wages? She said, I've been working here. Who told you to work? You're illegal. You're not supposed to work. I can call the immigration department. He does like this. Immigration department right now and tell them until you get arrested, handcuffed, jailed, and deported.
When I confronted him and he said that I was not supposed to work there, I was really upset and I couldn't there was no comeback to that.
So, but I always tell, in God's home, there is delay, no denial. My chef, he heard that conversation and he was in a similar situation in some other state. So he told me, Harold, you need to run away from here. Otherwise, your wife, and your kids are finished.
We were always threatened by the perpetrator that he would get us arrested. So we also had a psychological fear of the law enforcement agencies. But we took the courage to go to the police and say, hey, this is what happened. He's threatening to get us arrested. He's threatening to get us deported. And the police at that time did not know much about trafficking. So they didn't realize that it was a trafficking situation. They just assumed that we just weren't paid. So they directed us to the wage in our division. It took us a lot of knocking on doors to try and get us out of the trafficking situation.
I was educated from India. I never knew the meaning. I read in the books about slavery, but I never understood the meaning of human trafficking. When this lady, she was in Texas and working on human trafficking there. So she knew exactly what is labor trafficking, everything. But within 2 minutes, she said that, oh, your cases of human trafficking. That girl who interviewed me, my service provider, got me connected with Sisters of Notre Dame. And I was doing a presentation there, and she used to always act as interpreter because I used to always break down. I used to talk like, I was, I was like, I just couldn't communicate. Like, I was very nervous. And that is where then I met Sister Therese and Sister Joan, and they helped me a lot.
We got 10 different religious communities involved in our group, which was Sisters Against Human Trafficking. And once we connected with End Slavery Cincinnati, and at that time, Jessica Donahue Deho was the director, she came and mentored us. She taught us more and more about human trafficking. And at one meeting, she came and brought Harold and Dancy and introduced them to us and said, we've been studying about human trafficking, but I think it's important that you hear what it's like from people who've endured it. That meeting nearly broke me emotionally. I could not believe what they and their boys had been through. They left with Jessica, and I had nothing but Harold's email address. So I emailed him and said, please tell Dancy how touched and how moved I was and how awful I felt about how they were treated. And I didn't know if they needed anything. I didn't know what I could do, but they could certainly feel free to contact me. Well, it wasn't long before Harold was in touch. And I learned from then how naive I was, because I figured, well, they've been rescued. They are now in a place of their own. They're safe. But it never occurred to me about the emotional and spiritual, psychological trauma that still needs to be dealt with, and that they needed people to talk to.
Whenever we had any problem, like they could read our face. We might not even tell them. So they used to check on us regularly. I remember once something was there, like I was in some financial crunch or something, and then she said, "Oh no, you cannot just survive on rice and beans or something." Sister Theresa. So she gave us some money, she got food, she got this, like, it's not, I like one thing of Sisters Theresa and Sister Joan, or all the sisters, they do not believe in satisfaction or satisfying. Their funda is very clear, not only with me, with everyone. They believe only in one thing, in delighting.
Harold began coming to Mass here in the mornings. And so we began talking together. And I was giving talks on human trafficking at the parishes and in different organizations. And I would invite him to come and speak. He was actually helping me. I was not helping him at that point.
Both of them have been willing to expose their history and their pain and their joy to groups, organizations, churches, whatever group was willing to be informed about this.
So Harold and I have started this organization called Eyes Open International, which is a non-profit organization, and it helps bring education, awareness, and empowerment to survivors.
On my personal level, I wanted to do 4 things. I was believing in prevention, education, protection, and empowerment, not only for victims, survivors, but even for the vulnerable population and the community members. And that's not only in the United States of America, but all over the world. In a victim's life, there is no expiration date. And in a survivor's life, healing does not mean that trauma never existed. Healing means that the trauma no more controls our life.